he's really boring. Because he's the fucking win all hero.
Well, not only is he the Boy Scout, but he's. I don't know. I never found his stories appealing because it's, I'm a god.
Well, the issue is he could win every time, and then
Yeah.
he doesn't. All right, so we're picking up fine too. So we're good to start.
It's the problem I have with the Seven Deadly Sins. Same thing. The first season is literally like, oh, we're getting beat. Oh no, and she's like, Meliodas. And they're like, oh, just kidding. We let him beat us because there was plot or something. Look, bam, and they're dead.
Well, they had some kind of something. This is the sour hour.
We'll do the intro in a minute. We can cut the intro in front of this.
So, hang on. No, okay, it's not.
Don't fart.
No, it's a burp. That was that
there
burp,
we go.
actually.
Weak.
Wait. Okay, it's like 15 of them, and they're just all trying at once. It's because of that fucking expired soda and Little Caesar's pizza.
The expired soda and cold pizza.
But the thing with Seven Deadly Sins is that, like, I guess they never want to use their full power. It's like half explained in their, like, the character backstory.
I know why Meliodas doesn't. He doesn't like eat. He like goes unconscious.
Well, the last time he used his full power, he literally killed Elizabeth. So
Yeah.
that's a good reason for him not to want to. But like for everyone else, like
Bond specifically should want to go nuts to balls every single time.
And he doesn't. Like there's so many. He can only fight well around Meliodas, and he's supposed to be like the third most powerful behind Merlin and Escobar.
I haven't met those two yet. Like you see a peak of Merlin in season 1.
Yeah.
I still haven't gathered the muster to start season 2.
So Merlin's whole thing is magic, and she just only does it sometimes. And I can't remember his name exactly. Escobar.
That's the one that Travis was telling me about, I think.
Yeah, so he's the one who his power is based on the sun. So when the sun is at peak, his power is like 420,000, which is the same problem as fucking power level in Superman.
Yeah, Superman's power level's a little nuts.
In Dragon Ball Z, where like they have a number, and it's like that doesn't. They start relying on a number to tell us what power levels are, but the problem is, if your power level is so great that it needs a number because we can't see how strong it is, then there's no reason to say. You might as well just say they're the strongest in the universe because.
Yeah, well, wasn't that like the half joke? Is that like eventually Vegeta Scouter was just so pointless? He was like, "This is dumb," and he shattered it because he's like, I can't believe that he has that number.
He broke the. He stopped using the Scouter eventually because he could sense power level. So they still use power levels as like numbers. They're like, oh, his power level is 90 billion. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is a 90 billion?
That's your pecking order. You're 90 billionth. That's how weak you still are.
Frieza was so strong he could blow up a planet. And presumably every single villain after that was strong enough to also blow up a planet. So at that point, one, why do the villains ever lose? If their goal is just to blow up the planet, don't prove you're the strongest. Just blow up the fucking planet, and you're done. You win. Game over.
Yeah, the only one I like. I get why Freezer doesn't blow up the planet right away. He wants more monkey slaves, but like with Cell did not need planet Earth.
No, but
there was no reason for this.
That was the thing is that like Frieza was on Namek. And Frieza does blow up the planet, right?
Yeah, well, that's because he's like, Namek sucks.
So in the end, it was a total vindictive spite move. And that's the thing. Every villain should have that spite move, right? Because Frieza's like, oh, if you think you're going to beat me, then I'll prove you wrong. I'll destroy the planet. And then he blows it up.
Yeah, he's like, you can't breathe in space. I can.
Which is, yeah, so like that's the thing, right? That's the fucking move. If your plan is to rule the world and then somebody shows up who's in line to not make you rule the world, then you make there be no world, because it's a Pyrrhic victory, but it's still a fucking victory.
You're still evil.
Yeah. Good job. And then, like, Cell never even threatens to do it. No. He doesn't even try. Cell's just like, I want to prove I'm the best. And then he fucking flexes his titties and dies.
And up until Evil Boo, which I don't like Evil Boo, but that's my personal opinion. But Majin Buu I liked as a villain because his job was not to be the world destroyer. It was to simply exist.
Also, Majin Buu didn't actually know what his strength was.
Yeah,
he had the mind of a child, so he just kind of thought that like it was fun to fight.
He liked turning people into chocolate because he liked chocolate. Yeah, which is also a weird move in the Dragon Ball canon. It's almost as weird as Piccolo's clothes beam, but not quite as weird as Piccolo's clothes beam.
No, I feel like the problem is that clothes beam came so early on that like every other
showed up
move,
twice.
Yeah,
the problem is like, okay, one-off weird anime thing, okay, and then like he did it again later, and we're like, okay, so you just can make clothes. He spins his little slug silk and makes everybody clothes. Anyways, this is the Sour Hour, episode 2.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we don't need to put the episode number in the title, so we don't have to shut the fuck up, computer. Sorry. Dell really wants me to know that the same update that I can never install is ready to install again. Do you have that?
I don't have a Dell.
So, yeah, it's this update right here, 7559. It's a new BIOS, right? And every time I try to install it, it tries to install, and it's like, oh, hang on a second, you can't. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just won't. And then the next time I reboot my computer, it's like, hey, 7559 is ready to go. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do it then. This time there's nothing going on. It should be fine. It's like, oh, but you can't.
No, your computer is lacking in computer part.
I'm sorry. I told you that you could, but in fact, I lied. Which is great.
Thanks, bud. I think today's episode is about general annoyances. I mean, every episode is, but like there's some big stuff going on right now.
Yeah, so last week, you may remember we made a few jokes about it, about the shootings in El Paso and that stuff.
Yeah, I really at least touched on it.
Yeah, and of course, viewers, I realize now viewers might be a little upset about the sort of crass, carefree nature in which we discuss these things. But
we're Americans. It happens literally once a day. Like,
even Americans are like, 'cause I have this problem at work too, where people are like, how could you joke about that? But like at this point, it is a fucking joke. It happens all the time. It's like, and that's, it might seem a little bit like overblowing the fact, because of course every state doesn't have one shooting every day, but somewhere in the US there is one mass shooting every day. That's on average. Some days there's none, some days there's 3, but either way, it's come to the point now where we're not talking about it on the news anymore, right?
Yeah, you only get occasional. It's the car crash thing. There's just too many. You get the occasional one where like 8 people died, and then that's it.
It's to the point. So again, to clarify, the FBI says that a mass shooting is where 4 or more people get shot, not killed, just shot.
Just shot. You just have to be injured.
So if that's, but by that metric, there is one mass shooting every single day. And a lot of those will be, 3 injuries, 1 fatality, because usually one of the people who's shot is the shooter. And it doesn't matter if they were shot by the cops or by themselves, it still counts as one of the statistics for the mass shooting. So if you think that skews it and makes it less shocking, then
it takes your number from 3 to 4. Congratulations.
Yeah. It cuts out maybe a third of all the mass shootings in the year, which means that instead of there being a mass shooting every single day, there's a mass shooting every other day, which is...
it's not really a more positive metric.
It's not a huge improvement. On some of those days, there's more than one mass shooting. But, like, at this point, we could try to feel bad about it, but there's so much emotional energy you have to invest in feeling bad about stuff like that. And there's just not enough time.
There's not enough people trying to, like, do anything about it for me to feel invested in it.
The last time people tried to do something about it, everybody made fun of a girl who shaved her head in grief and called her a little cunt and said that she wasn't going to do anything, sent her death threats. So I guess that shows about how far we're willing to go to actually address the situation.
Yeah.
But on that point, some people in Congress and, of course, in glorious White House have decided to address the point by making a scapegoat.
Another one.
But this one is the same one they made back in 1996. For you see, once again...
It's my favorite.
Video games are the enemy.
They cause every source of violence and vitriolic behavior on the earth.
They're not the only enemy, of course. There are other enemies. Walmart didn't just take down all of their violent video games. They also took down any and all advertisements, including hunters or people who could be perceived as doing anything violent. So it's more than just video games for advertisers, but when it comes to the Senate, there was, I don't know if there still is right now, but there was at least for a while, a hard push. This, of course, comes in line with Trump's proposed bill to put a tax on violent video games, which is just great.
Yeah, if I remember right, the tax on violent video games was to help schools that had suffered tragedy and stuff like that. It's a fantastic way for the government to profit off of, like, tragedy.
Yeah, it's also a really great way for them to cut out one of the things that they're so afraid of. So I saved an image, which is Republican GOP McCarthy. The GOP leader McCarthy says, "There are no mass shootings in Japan because there are no video games there." I'll show Austin the image now.
Yeah, that's...
So
Japan, though, well-known place that's vacant of video games or violent anything.
it's true. Everyone knows Shigeru Miyamoto moved over to the U.S. before making Donkey Kong.
Oh, yeah. Donkey Kong is a pure American thing.
Yeah.
And
Legend of Zelda, always made in America.
Berserk, that was made in America.
Yeah, U.S. exclusive, actually.
Yeah.
Same thing with Parasite Maxim, 100% U.S. Born and raised.
Minecraft was made in the U.S. That was facts.
That's true, yeah.
Hard facts.
People think not just Swedish. They're fucking lies.
Yeah, they've never once been to an IKEA. They would never know.
It's true.
Like,
IKEA made in America.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with violent video games, but...
IKEA is an American product. Well, there's an IKEA simulator. That was made in America.
Also, it causes you to shoot up IKEAs.
It's true.
If you ever play Farming Simulator,
now you're a farm killer. You kill farms.
You're a murderer.
The entire land base. Not like the farmer and his animals. You kill the farm.
What boggles the mind is that there's so many more successful video games based pretty much zero on violence. You know, there's so many more like
the mass appeal is for games without violence. Like generally speaking,
Office Simulator, that kind of stuff. Where it's just like a joke, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look at this new technology. Hey, wouldn't it be fun if we use this new technology to pilot an airship or something? Like,
dude, Farming Simulator, the fact that it has a 2019 edition as well as the years previous.
Yeah, you mean the fact that they started getting so numerous, they stopped giving them numbers and started labeling them by year?
Yeah, clearly there is a big market for this.
Same thing with a train simulator, flight simulator comes
Dude,
out with
Euro
a new one.
Truck Simulator has some fucking dedicated followers.
Yeah. And people, like, they don't even play the game to crash the trucks, which is obviously what I would be playing the game for, because I think it's funny.
Oh, yeah, dude, I'd download a mod to up the physics and just crash into everything.
But, yeah, see, there you go, we're the problem. But
no,
like,
it's not shooting, it's a car. Cars have never been used for violent crimes.
I'm going to open a soda. There we go.
Good open.
Thanks.
Nice on.
Yeah, I get it. Obviously, video games are new and frightening.
You know what? At this point, I'm not allowing that.
No. So
they've been around since the 80s. If the 80s is still new to people.
But that's the thing. A lot of the people in Congress, it's because it seems like Congress is like a time capsule, you know?
It's because don't they have unlimited terms?
Yeah, you can re-up as many times as you fucking want.
Yeah, they should really put a limit on that shit.
And granted, each term is only like 2 years. So you constantly having new elections for them, right? But the problem is most people don't want to re-elect.
Well, most people
elect a new person.
Nobody goes out every 2 years for that special Congress election.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I'm not gonna lie, I've never been to a state senate election when they aren't lined up with presidential elections.
You end up with these guys who, you know, they get voted in, and then the only time they could get voted out is during presidential elections, because yeah, like you said, a lot of people will wait until the presidential election years.
Yeah,
because, you know, who's got fucking time? Most workplaces won't even let you out.
No, yeah, my workplace does not allow you to leave to vote. I mean, they're legally required to, but they don't allow you to leave to vote.
Yeah, they're legally. The thing is that they can't fire you for that, but there's so many other reasons a place can fire you for any given reason. You know.
Yeah. If they want you fired, they can fire you. They'll find a way.
So the whole like you're legally required to let your employees go out and vote is kind of a load of bullshit.
Also, why is voting still so goddamn archaic? It's fucking 2019.
Because every time we try to update it, we give it to some fucking boomer who doesn't understand what they're doing. You know? Have you seen electronic voting systems? They're still trash. The one time we tried to use electronic voting, where was it? I want to say it was just for some basic bitch election over here in Minnesota. But it was like Windows XP. It wasn't... Or not, no, it wasn't XP, sorry. It was Windows Vista. The shitty fucking security filled, or hole filled, you know.
The disaster pile that is Microsoft SAM.
It basically... it had like a ton of loopholes in it. It was really easy to crack. Even when it was running a program, it was super easy to get around. I mean, Vista was trash. Dude. XP was good. XP was really solid. It was very secure. 7 is reasonably solid. 8 and 10, they're both fine. Obviously, 8 and 10 didn't come out at that point, but the fact that it was running Vista instead of XP was just...
Well, the fact... my thing is if multi-million up to billion-dollar corporations are using the internet to run a business where all of their money is...
Yeah.
You should probably be able to trust your voting system online with enough security. And you're the government. You should be able to hire those who can make pretty much the best security.
But, I mean, of course, it's all about the sales pitch, you know? I think that's part of the problem. I don't know that Windows is, or like, you know, Apple or any of those companies are actually trying to get into it, because it's kind of a bum market. Well, the government, it's a joke, but it's also kind of the truth. The government will always try to go to the lowest common bidder, you know? If you can get it done for cheapest, then that's what they're going to do. And, of course, the lack of technological knowledge means that people are like, oh, you can do this entire voting booth setup for $5,000 per unit? Perfect. Not realizing that all they're doing is giving you the equivalent of, like, one of those home thermostat control things, which is
wet Cheetos.
Yeah, it's got no security. It's got no way of blocking an outside source. It's running on Wi-Fi, but it's completely unsecured, unencrypted. People can rotate into it from any other Wi-Fi source. It's ridiculous how bad these setups are. And of course, you could get better setups. It's not like it's impossible, but if you start telling people that it's going to be I don't know, $6,000 or $7,000 or $10,000 per voting unit, and then the security at each location is going to be another $30,000, they're not going to go for it.
I'm just surprised there isn't anything like, why can't we vote at home?
Making sure that everybody only votes once would become a huge pain in the ass.
It's true, but there's got to be a workaround, right? There's got to be an answer somewhere.
I mean, I don't know. We managed to get census information done from home, and that's considered accurate.
Yeah. I live with 11 turtles.
I mean, they don't clock that kind of information, but...
Turtle is my mom and my dad, so they have to.
You know, I feel like at this point, we should have a way to get electronic... But all that is a side point. The point is, the people in Congress... Not only do most of them not know what video games are, most of them don't even know what year it is. So for them to be like, oh, the 80s, I understand the 80s would be ridiculous because they don't even know that it's past the 80s. They still think it's back in the 60s or 70s when they were elected.
Mitch McConnell's got like a Kermit the Frog like point to his upper lip.
The lizard lip?
Dude, he's a reptile. It's happening.
So... Yeah, of course, when these shootings happen, then they look for something to blame. And in this case, video games is easy because, one, it's popped up twice now, right? At least in mainstream shootings. Well,
it's the thing is at this point, if you're under 30, you almost play games. It's weird for you to not play something at this point, right?
I mean, if you're sometimes even under 40, because at this point, I'm almost 30. So... The people who are 10 years older than me were born in the 80s. So a lot of them remember playing games like Punch-Out and stuff when they were a kid.
The arcades were big, dude.
Yeah. And that's just it, you know?
I'm gonna make a little bit of noise to grab my soda. You know, that was actually a lot more quiet than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, it picked up a lot of stuff on the fucking...
on the backswing?
Yeah, on the waves. Because, every time that thing moves, it's grinding on the inside and it picks it up into the mic. But, I don't know. There's obviously an issue, and to claim that I know what that issue is would be ridiculous, because I'm just some fucking 30-year-old asshole who's on a podcast.
It's not my job to solve these things. I didn't sign up for it.
But at the same time, it should be pretty obvious by now that it's not the video games.
It's almost guaranteed at this point it's mental health and almost status. If you don't have a solid home footing and your mental health is bad, you're going to be in a much higher risk state to do violent things.
And it's also accessibility to the guns, you know? You're required, you're not required right now. There's no law that says you need a gun safe. There's nothing that requires you have a solid lock on your gun. And I've seen, like, some people, I'm pretty sure there's, like, something about the carry permit where you need a case for your weapon. That case could literally be a $10 carrying case from, Walmart or something with a bike lock on it. Which means that there's all the space in the world in that bike lock that you can just open the case and slip your hand in between the two clamshell pieces and grab the gun out.
Yeah.
That's still considered a secure case. It's not secure by any stretch of the imagination. If you imagine people walking around with, like, nuclear launch codes in a case like that, you'd be shocked, because that shouldn't be. But, so if there was no easy way for people to get access to guns that they shouldn't have, that would solve...
At least one or two.
Yeah.
And, like, if that's only the number that it solves, that's one or two, and it doesn't hurt anybody else who owns a gun.
Well, it hurts them a little bit financially, because they have to buy a gun safe then.
True.
But, like, gun safes, look, if you're...
you can buy, like, a little box safe from Walmart for $10, and that's an actual box safe. It won't keep your shit safe, but at least meets requirement.
I mean, if you've got, like, long-ass rifles and you can't afford to buy the safe, then, maybe make sure that your kid is doing okay. Maybe talk to your child. Don't just let TV raise them. Fucking talk to them yourself and figure out if they're getting bullied or if...
they're malnourished.
Yeah, if they need someone to talk to. Maybe you don't even know their name. Maybe you thought their name was Jimmy this whole time and you named your kid Charles. You're the fucking problem.
Yeah, you're the guy.
And, if all that stuff happens and we still have the same number of shootings, then, fine, obviously. Again, I don't know. I'm not the guy.
Doing nothing is clearly not the answer, at least.
We've tried doing nothing. We've been doing nothing forever, and nothing has worked.
Yeah, obviously nothing changes because we're not doing anything. I'd prefer we do something, it's a bad idea, and we backpedal, than not do anything. The mindset that things should just remain the same permanently is not a mindset I have ever agreed with.
The other thing is so there was the assault weapon ban that happened in 96, I think. It was during the Clinton administration.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have anything that has an auto fire selection.
And people were mad about that. They were so upset. They said it was the end of the world. Government was coming to take their guns. That was the beginning of all that shit. But it did. Well, it wasn't just like an auto fire. It was anything that was a rifle that had like a outside magazine that you can put onto it, which is why High Point made their weird rifle pistol hybrid thing, which is a 9mm that you could jam a magazine up into the actual grip itself, so it didn't have a forward mounted magazine. And it's a weird gun. There's a lot of weird stuff that was made to get around it, but it worked too. The number of shootings that happened with that weapon went down significantly, right? There wasn't as many people shooting each other with high-powered rifles because it was harder to get them. It's not even like it was impossible to get.
If you were a law-abiding citizen, that's never impossible to get.
It's just difficult. So the argument that, like, the people who shouldn't get them will still find a way. No, they really won't. Not unless they're breaking into people's houses to steal them. But again, that's where the gun safe comes in. If you said that you can't have a semi-automatic pistol, or as some people call them, an automatic pistol, if you can't have one of those, right? If it's not allowed to own them, and every time somebody does something bad with one, you take it away and it's gone, eventually there will be a very small number of these semi-autos on the street. They just won't be as easy to get their hands on. So people have to find a new way to kill other people.
IQ Britain, where people getting stabbed.
Yeah. Which, that's a problem. But fuck, they're not getting shot.
Yeah.
Or, they are getting shot, but not nearly as often, and there's the thing.
Knife wounds are generally more survivable, I would believe.
They are, yeah. The thing is,
it's not a bullet, at least.
They don't usually ruin your life as much. That's the thing.
Really, what Britain should do is, instead of banning knives, they should just have like an open samurai sword carry and just go. Like, they should just revert. Like, it's time. It's time to go back to the feudal age.
It boggles the mind that, like, I hear like the guy at work who says that the solution should be everybody should be allowed to carry. That's not the solution. I'm sorry to say, I love guns. I really do. I like shooting guns. I like looking at guns. I like talking about guns, but I will gladly give up a vast majority of that to stop this shit. And having everybody, trained or not, be allowed to walk around with a gun is ridiculous.
Dude, I don't like that everybody's allowed to walk around with a phone sometimes.
There's some place in the Netherlands, I don't know if it's Sweden or Switzerland or something, but pretty much everybody in the country has a gun.
I think it's Sweden.
Yeah.
One of them, yeah, it's either Sweden or Switzerland. They're required to join, like,
military.
Yeah, it's like Boy Scouts.
When you get into high school, there is a forced military draft thing that they do.
Yeah, it's like for 2 years you have to at least know what the military is.
Yep. So for 2 years, you go through basic drills. You learn how to fire a weapon. Everybody is allowed to buy a gun. You know what nobody is allowed to buy? Ammunition.
Yeah, you're not allowed to carry it outside of firing ranges or military bases.
So when you go to the base, you can shoot all you want. Shoot to your heart's fucking content. But when you leave, you have none. There's not a bullet in your pocket. There's not a round in the chamber. It's empty. You have the equivalent of a technologically advanced club. And it works. It works really well because not only is everybody trained in how to use a firearm, everybody understands how they function, but also nobody could accidentally shoot somebody else. So you don't even get the accidental gun death statistic. It's just everyone's got a gun.
Yeah, well, and I don't agree with the whole forced to join the military thing for a little bit, but it works for the other country. They're also a lot smaller. I think there are certain things that other countries do that won't work in America because we're like geographically too fucking big.
Well, so the military thing, it could work, but the problem is our military is so militarized. Yeah, there's a cat on the painting table right now.
Yeah, I don't know what Leon's doing right now. Leon, what's up, bud?
I think he wants to get at, he really wants to get at that fucking paint water.
Dude, that's why that's there, so they don't drink. I've got a lamp above my paint water, like one of those crane neck Pixar lamps, and I put it over my paint cup when I'm not using it, so the cats can't drink my paint water.
You already got fed, bud. What are you doing? What is this?
Yeah, your asshole hour is done. Your sour hour is done, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, so a big part of it is France. They have the same thing, right? Where you go and you do 1 year, 2 year stint in the gendarme.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it is it's like Boy Scouts, like Austin said. It's not, there's some physical fitness drills, but it's not super intense. It's not training people how to kill. It's just, you get together, you run your drills, you do your stuff.
Learn some basic survival, learn
some knot
discipline
tying,
or
whatever. There it goes. Yeah, and then when you're done, you're done. You don't have to do it. You served your time. You fucking paid your nickel. You're done with it. And if we had a military setup like that, if we stopped doing Boy Scouts and started doing, and we kind of do. What was that thing you guys did in high school?
Oh, the ROTC?
Yeah.
Yeah, ROTC, the Junior Officer Training Corps.
So,
I was not a very good member. I'm not going to be very keen on, very good at talking about this. But like JROTC was a lot less of like field talk and survival talk. When I was in, it was our curriculum in Park changed every year. So when I was in, it was space. They talked about space, and it would switch between the two instructors every day. So like one day would be space, and the other one would be story time because, well, he didn't teach; he just told stories. So, but like I joined because I wanted to learn about space. I like space a lot. So, but I know if you wanted to and you were supposed to, join up with like the color guard or the marching squad and stuff like that, and kind of learn a little bit out of military. And if you're in JROTC and you go into the military, you are starting off with a head start pretty much, because you've learned a little bit about it.
So that's the thing. Is like that's basically what the military thing is. Obviously, it's a little bit more intensive than that, but it's not so much more intensive where it'd be like, wow, that's what you do. So if we had something like
even if it was just a sign up thing, I'm positive people would sign up people for it. Just
do 100%. People already sign up their kids for like military boot camp things.
Dude, people would sign themselves up for like a 2-month survival camp.
Oh yeah,
like absolutely. They would be like, yeah, I'd love to learn how to shoot a gun and like eat food off the wild and
the other thing
build
is
a tent.
So like way back in the day, talking like it might have even been as late as the 70s. I'm not 100%, but gun class was a class in school. It was an elective course you could take. It was basically part of phys ed, right?
Yeah,
where you would go shoot a gun. You would learn how the gun works. You would learn how to break it down. You would learn basic firearm safety. And I had to take a course outside of school to do that. And obviously, my parents were paying for it because at the time I was only like 13. But still, I had to go somewhere else, and it was like $150 or something, which isn't terribly bad. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, $150 is a lot.
Yeah, I can't randomly spring for 150 very often.
Yeah. And then not only that, but it required a lot of driving around. The class was in South Minneapolis, and then the shooting range that they went to, I think the one time that we went for the gun day, was all the way down in like in between Red Wing and here. So it was a ways away, and that's the only range. So if you couldn't make it to that gun day, that was it.
Yeah,
and if you
clay pigeon shooting isn't part of school curriculum anymore.
No, a lot of stuff isn't, because gun violence and we can't have guns, but that's part of the issue, right? A lot of these gun statistics, where it's just like a one-off shooting, is accidental. If somebody accidentally kills somebody else, it still counts as gun violence. It doesn't matter. So same thing if somebody kills himself with a gun, then it counts as gun violence. Whether that was on accident or on purpose, their death counts as a violence statistic. So our gun violence statistics are kind of blown out of proportion when it comes to single shooting incidents.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is a lot of I would say the common people are pretty uninformed about guns. Like I don't know much about guns because my mom doesn't like guns at all.
Yeah,
she doesn't like guns, and I have never had the want to own a gun because I have no intention of harming things, and that's kind of what you do with guns. I don't want to go hunting. I don't plan on joining the military. I'd rather not shoot things. I'd shoot at targets.
Shooting targets is really fun.
Yeah, but like I would never own a gun because it doesn't do me any good.
Because it's not saving you any time to shoot targets with.
Yeah, like I could just go and be like, yeah, let me borrow your gun or rent this gun or.
That's the big problem is a lot of people are uninformed. Like they won't even know the basics, like how to check if a gun is loaded.
Yeah,
and that's where you get a lot of these accidental shootings because you'll get somebody who'll like
eye to barrel.
Yeah, not know if a gun is loaded. Point the gun at their friend just as a joke, as a fucking goof, and be like, "Hey Timmy, check this out!" and they'll pull the trigger, and now Timmy's fucking blown away, and they're stuck there with a smoking barrel.
Yeah,
and maybe that was the only round in the chamber, but whatever the case was. That was a shot, and you just killed your friend. My roommate's friend recently accidentally killed himself because he was fucking around with the gun. He pointed it at his own face and pulled the trigger, and now he doesn't have a face, and is also dead. that's a thing that happens surprisingly often. And he was a gun owner. He knew that like how guns function. He should have known to not to check it, but of course he was fucking drunk as shit. So
yeah, if I remember right, the statistics are DARE actually didn't work in schools. The drug resistance, and if I remember right, that actually was negative. I didn't. I had no idea what drugs looked like in like the time they were coming around because I'm a good boy.
No, that was the thing. So like when I was in school, we had DARE, and they brought in a case like this massive, must have been like a 3 foot by 4 foot case with each drug shown in the case. Like the actual drug was actually in the case there, labeled with different variants of it in some cases, like with LSD, where they'll put it on stamps and pieces of paper and that kind of stuff, like the tabs.
Yeah.
So they had like several different versions of it up there, just so you could know, just so you know what it looked like. Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is what methamphetamine looks like, and this is what crystal meth looks like. Notice the differences here, and I'm like, what? Are you explaining it? Oh, this is bad kush right here. You can tell. You can see a lot of stem chunks in it.
As you can see, purple rain over here is no fucking bueno.
And this is good kush. This is the kush that you want to get on the street, but you don't want to get it because drugs are bad. Like, you're fucking teaching me how to identify drugs.
Yeah.
This is obviously an issue.
But, so I never knew what they looked like. And for me, it was, I guess, quote unquote helpful because at least I knew what drugs looked like. I was at least informed on the subject, and like I think the main thing they should have probably stuck to is just instead of trying to tell you drugs are constantly bad, just tell you what will happen when you do them, because like it's not that hard to not do meth when you see people who have done meth. Like
so that the thing was like they definitely did more of that for our DARE, right?
Yeah,
it was not like nearly as bad as the Reagan era or the Nixon era. All drugs must die, but it was not helpful either.
Yeah.
I feel like what they need to do is focus a lot less on the are drugs good or bad thing and focus a lot more on when are drugs good. You know?
Yeah, what drugs should you probably never do? Like,
yeah.
Never do heroin. It's not worth your time. But like, I'm very positive LSD once won't kill you. Weed is pretty much just another form of drinking.
Yeah.
Don't do it too often. It's obviously not good for you.
Well, and the other thing is like, so when you're below the legal drinking age, you are also below the recommended drug age.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't be doing stuff like weed on a daily basis until you're like 25. But that's the same thing with drinking. You shouldn't be drinking every day when you're 21. You're legally allowed to because you have to.
If you drink every day, people point at you and call you an alcoholic.
Well, and you're
people
more likely...
who smoke every day, I point at them and like I'm like, you got a problem, kid.
Yeah,
like,
and you're more likely to develop those problems too. So we see that a lot with like people who like smoke weed on the constant when they're young will get problems with their memory. Their memory just won't develop properly, and they'll end up having really bad short-term memory.
Yeah,
it's not like a myth. We've got studies on this. When you're young, you shouldn't be smoking weed. It's not that you should never smoke weed. It's not even that you shouldn't smoke weed, all the time, right? Just don't do it in excess.
Yeah, everything in moderation, folks.
If you're 15, smoke a spliff on the weekend. Don't do it both weekends. Don't do it every weekend.
Don't go to school high, kids.
Yeah, well, that's
don't do drugs, kids.
Just I mean that's the easiest way to do it. And of course, like abstinence, that doesn't work.
Yeah, like obviously, I think it's the same way that sex ed I felt should have been taught when I was in school. It's tell us how to do it correctly.
Yeah,
like because I'm very positive. Like if you told kids just like, hey, weed won't kill you, but like lay off,
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't ever do even more intensive drugs because like you've shown them what happens when you do it. And you're like, hey, weed's probably the one you want to stick with if you're going anywhere. Like, in fact, it's been legalized in multiple states already because like it's just not that bad. Like, it's no worse than smoking a cigarette, and it's no worse than getting just tossed off your ass on some alcohol. It's the same thing.
It's less likely to get you addicted than alcohol is, and it's less likely to rot your lungs than cigarettes are. So Like,
On the topic of smoking, though, specifically in Minnesota, I have a problem with our indoor smoking ban. I wish business owners were able to choose for themselves if their business was a smoke-free or allowed to smoke in business.
Why is that?
It's mainly for bars. I think a lot of bars, like when you think of biker bar, you don't think of like clean air. Like, we're going to go in and have some Shirley Temples. You think of like, yeah, there's some just big dudes smoking at the counter. And like, that's, for some people, that's a very attractive scene.
See, did you go to a lot of bars before the smoking ban?
Yes.
Yeah. You remember how terrible it was to go into those places?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, I think it should be up to the business owner themselves, because some people, I'm pretty sure it hurt their business when you couldn't smoke in there.
Yeah, for a bit, but it's fine now. That's the issue is that it was one of those things where, like, somebody had to do something about it. And obviously, if it's up to the business, when it comes to places like bars, they're all going to say, yes, you can smoke in here. And there's nothing you can do about that. And in the end, there's more smokers than non-smokers. But you don't want to exile potentially half of your customer bases just because, you know, some of them want to smoke. And it pissed people off for a while having to go outside to smoke. But
like, I got it for things like Perkins, like restaurants. Like, I never, like, smoking sections in restaurants, you can't contain that. The smoking section was a cute way to say it'll smell a little worse over there.
But that's the thing is that, like, you know, if you want to be able to smoke at a restaurant, just go to a restaurant with a patio. Patios pretty much always allow smoking. That's why most bars have a patio. Because you go out there, you're not in the bar anymore, you can smoke all you want. You can smoke like a fucking chimney. And, like, yeah, sometimes the patio is cold. I mean, it's Minnesota, so a lot of the time the patio is cold.
Yeah, it's not like half the year the patio is damn near unusable.
But that's the thing. Like, there's ways that the restaurant can get around that. If the restaurant really gives a fuck, they can put in those heaters outside. You know, if you put a roof on the patio and you put those propane, like, heaters out there, that patio becomes perfectly fine. It's not great, but you've already got a jacket, because at some point you're going out in the cold, you dumb fuck.
Well, it's Minnesota. If you don't have a jacket, you are from out of state, and I feel sorry for you.
So that's the thing.
You have to be prepared for the next day to suck, no matter how nice it was.
There was a bar in Minneapolis, Bulldog, I think, and they've got an outdoor smoking section, right, which has those, like, heat lamps, like the ones they have at bus stations.
Yeah.
It's got like 7 of those in the outdoor roofed area. And that's just fine. You go out there and it's like 50, 60 degrees in that little zone, which, not fantastic, but one, it's a lot warmer than the outside.
Yeah, to me that's fantastic weather. That's my preferred temperature range.
2, you know, you still get to smoke and have all the bar food. It still gets delivered out there, so that's the solution. If you want to be able to smoke in the bar, build an outdoor portion to the bar.
Well, I guess even like down here in St. Paul Park, Frankie's has the enclosed porch.
So if they don't have any kind of heater in there, then that's on them. They just don't give a shit about the smokers. But for me, as a person who doesn't smoke and has a lot of difficulty breathing when I walk into a room that's 50 to 60% smoke, I would like to be able to go to a bar and get sloshed without also having to worry about if I'll be able to breathe while I'm drunk.
I already can't breathe when I'm drunk.
Well, next week
we'll talk about how the Air Gear manga was the superior manga to all other mangas. Including Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball's trash. One Piece is trash. Your anime is trash. Your waifu's trash. Air Gear is the superior. Like, you may think air or food is good. Nah. You don't get none of that. It's Air Gear and Air Food. Everything in that manga is the best.
Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah.